Hi, folks. Can everybody hear? Yeah. Hi. Music wasn't working on the intro panel, and it's just dumb without the music, so we're just gonna start. We'll actually start in 2 minutes when we're supposed to, so that people can join. But just sitting there looking at pictures with no music, it just seemed dumb. So good to have everyone with us. That's Cheryl over on the right. Cheryl Lennox, our guest tonight,
Hello.
and Beth there in the middle, and then me on the side. Hey, fun fact. My daughter and I went to the Cardinals baseball game today, and Sport Clips was doing a charity thing where they had a bunch of hair cutting people with chairs set up in one of the pavilions. And so for $10 contribution to a charity, you could get your hair cut. So I got my hair cut at a professional baseball game today because, why not? Yeah.
Did you get pictures?
Sarah took one, yeah.
Oh,
She was trying to keep the paying job going while she was attending the
at the base.
game. So
Yeah,
but
that makes
yeah,
it
so
tough.
that was different. Sitting at a major league ballpark getting my hair cut. Yeah. One more thing on the bucket list.
Oh,
Let's see.
I got people checking in from all over. Cincinnati, Michigan.
Yeah, there we go. Hi, folks. It's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever it is, wherever you're at. Sorry, the opening panel, the sound. Allison joining us from Canada. All right. The opening sound was not working on the panel, so I just turned it off because it was annoying me that it wasn't working when I had it all set up. So there we have it. Cheryl Lennox with us tonight. Cheryl was last with us eons ago.
Yeah.
We have some of the coolest quilts you'll ever see to look at tonight. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And so a couple of things. Sunday's show, let me get that. Sunday's show is Jessica Kemper of Field Guide Embroidery. And one of Jessica's things is embroidering animals, creating animal designs, and then embroidering them on hats and vests and whatever it might be. And then she has a book, which that's Field Guide underneath the thing there. She has a book with all these patterns in it that just coming out now, just now available. So we're going to talk to her. Excuse me. We're going to talk to her about her art. Very cool stuff, and very different. And so that'll be Sunday, and so join us for that. And then we encourage you, if you're interested in supporting Fiber Talk, to become a Patreon member. That's up at the top there, patreon.com/fibertalk. Join us for that. We've got I've been doing the Friday 5 minutes on every Friday, little 5 minute video that I said to Beth earlier today is turning out to be more work than I was planning on, but I'm hanging in there. I'm gonna do the best I can. So we've got ideas, but the ideas are taking a lot of time for a 5 minute video. So I got one I think for today, for this Friday, that's going to be a simple one to put together, and then the other ideas that'll give me, I'm buying some time. So and then we just did our first collaboration with Jessica Grimm. That is on the Patreon page. You'll enjoy that. And got a couple, 3 other things up there, and then we have other things in the work. We're going to do a reaction video to a couple of designs. If I can get the designers to actually send me large photos of their models, then we'll do those. But the designers have been unresponsive so far, so we're going to do round 2 of pressuring them. So if you're not already subscribed, patreon.com/fibertalk to be part of that growing community. We'd appreciate it. Now tonight we have here. I'm gonna I'm going to get rid of that because we don't want things in the way. Cheryl Lennox has done a series. We have 10 quilts to look at. And these are art quilts. These are not put on the bed quilts. These are art quilts, and these are absolutely amazing. Her exhibition starts May 9, and it's called Earth Fragments. And there's what, three of you, right? Three of you in the exhibition doing different things?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
What are the other two? I stupidly didn't look those up. Do you remember?
There is a ceramic artist, and then the third person is also a woman. She does collage work, and I'm not really familiar with her work,
Okay.
but she's in near Chicago, and then the ceramic woman is from Dubuque, I believe.
Okay. All right. And then we'll have Cheryl's quilts. So this is at
Hmm.
the Quad City Arts Gallery in Rock Island, Illinois. It runs
Hmm.
May 9 to June 20. And the opening reception is the 9th, May 9, from 6 to 8 o'clock. So you can meet Cheryl and the other two ladies there. And then I have down at the bottom of the screen, if you want to purchase any of the art that's in the exhibit from the three ladies, that is the URL there, shopquadcityarts.com/rock-island-gallery. You can purchase those. So you can see all of the art there and then purchase if you're interested in doing that. So check that out. But tonight is going to be Cheryl's quilts. And I have to say, I mean, just setting this stuff up, I'm so anxious to hear the stories behind these things. So I'll read. This is the little description that's on the website, and for the exhibition. So Cheryl Lennox of Erie, Illinois, compiles scraps of fabric and worn clothing to create quilted works of art that bring awareness to the rising issue of textile overconsumption. It is estimated that 92 million tons of textiles end up in landfills annually. Lennox attempts to reduce her contribution to this statistic with this series, which she calls Earth Fragments. She states, "My collection furthers awareness and promotes positive change to protect God's amazing masterpiece, the place we call home, Earth." So that's the description, and that gives you an idea of what we're going to look at here tonight. So, that's all you guys get to see of us tonight until the end. So we're going to go to the magic iPad here and look at these things here. So Cheryl, that's the description, and this is the first one. This is called Vanished. But tell us how this all came about. I mean, the description,
Oh,
doesn't quite do it for us here.
okay. Well, this particular quilt is part of a series that I did about 2.5 years ago. And that it started with this particular dress. And, um, I really didn't have direction when I did it. I knew I just wanted to do some stitching and beading and create something. And as I was working on it, now the little dress itself came from a thrift store. I think I paid $1 or $2 for it. And I started working on it and I added some fabric to it that had some ferns on it. And so as I was working along, I remembered a movie that my son just loved, and it was about 30 years ago. It was called Fern Gully. And that movie approached um, what was happening in the rainforests and all the problems dealing with losing the rainforests. And from that, I kind of stepped forward like, you know what? There's problems all over the world. As I started doing some research, I came up with a list of 12 different things that I felt like were environmental issues that I really would like to approach and create a series. Because that was the other thing. I had wanted to work in a series for a long time. So I kind of set guidelines for myself for this that I was not going to buy anything for it, I was not going to make any purchases. um, I did purchase a few of the dresses, but they came from thrift stores and I didn't spend very much. And if I didn't have the right color beads, I reached out to friends. If I needed threads, the same thing. I really did not purchase for this. That was a goal. So this series was very successful. It was really fun to work on. I did a book to go along with it, which is available on blurb.com. But after that was done, I entered it. The Quad City Arts has a gallery at the Quad City Airport, and this series showed there. And after I was done with that, I thought, I'm not going to do any more dresses. I'm done with this. And of course, people continued to give me things. I continued, and I had a stack of dresses, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just do a few more because I still had a long list of ideas. Um, and then on a whim, I thought, well, you know what? It's time to submit a proposal to Quad City Arts if I want to be included this following year. And I thought I would submit something, but I really didn't think I'd be accepted because I had just shown. Well, lo and behold, it was accepted. And so I had about a year to put together. I did 9 quilts for this. And
Oops.
I know, right?
Nothing like a little
Oh, be
pressure.
careful. Yeah, yeah. But, as I worked along on it, I thought, I've got friends that we could have a beading party. We could have a stitching party. I could, you know, I've got this. So I've completed them and they are now hanging down at Quad City Arts and I'm very happy. And I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to have a few things under my belt before I make another proposal for something. But so anyway, this is the quilt that started it. It is not in the current series, but sure love the little dresses. And I think that stems from, women remember our childhood and the cute little dresses that we wore or the dresses that we put on our little daughters or, it's just a heartwarming piece of apparel that we love.
So these dresses that you used are human sized, like girl size, not doll dresses.
That's correct. This one I believe is like a size probably 18 months or 2 years possibly.
So that gives us
Yeah.
a perspective on the size of these quilts. They're not small. Yeah.
Yeah, this particular one is probably about 24 inches by 36 inches. Yeah, the quilt itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are much bigger. Yeah.
The current series is bigger, yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's look. These are the ones now coming up that are. Whoops, what did I just do? These are the ones that are in the exhibition. So this first one is leaves.
Leaves. So, um, my thought behind this one was that as forests are cut down or areas are stripped of plants, without leaves, where are we going to be? We need the leaves for oxygen. Um, we they're just a necessary part of our lives. So uh, it gave me an opportunity to use some fabrics that had leaf prints on them, and I did a lot of eco printing and um, I don't know. I'm a gardener. Leaves are part of being a gardener.
So take us through some of these. Like for instance, uh, uh, some of these down here. These are just scraps of cloth that you have in a in a bucket or a basket somewhere. I mean, you're just grabbing scraps of cloth and printing on them, or are they leftovers from a previous project, or what are we working
It's
with?
a lot of them are things that I have printed. I may stencil or I use a jelly plate to print sometimes. The dress itself, there, the leaves that are on that was an eco print. So basically, I take the fabric and I put leaves on it and wrap it up, bind it real tight on a stick, and then steam it. And the process is a little bit more than that, but it does transfer a beautiful print onto the fabric. Um, some of the other fabrics are some sun prints. There's a product called Solar Fast that I just love using for printing. There's other things that were actually embroidered by somebody else a long time ago, and I cut them up and used them. I really have been fortunate about receiving so many gifts from people, old napkins or tablecloths and clothing and all kinds of linens that they don't know what to do with them. And yes, there's more than a basket in my house of these.
Well, and
There's a
Beth and I
closet.
Beth and I have talked on occasion about this going to estate sales or other, rummage sales or whatever it might be, and just getting some of this cloth that nobody wants and hauling it home and then figuring out what you want to do with it. And so, this is kind of, to me, is kind of an example of what you might do with cloth that you can just pick up anywhere for pretty much a song, or someone will shove it at you just to get it out of their house.
Definitely, definitely. Pieces that I've been given oftentimes have holes in it, and people don't mend things very well anymore. But still, it was a treasured piece that maybe belonged to a grandmother or an aunt, and they don't want to just throw it away because it does have some sentimental value.
Right.
So I enjoy taking those pieces and giving them a little bit longer life.
Now, when
And a
you,
lot of time the linens, the fabrics too, we find are nice. I mean, it's not, like some of the napkins are high quality linen. No one wants them though because you have to press the silly thing. So why would you want to press anything? But they're
That's
great
right.
to do things like that butterfly that you up on the top. I know probably thick and dye stenciling, or it might have been
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that yellow
And
one? Yeah, I think
or what about the
so.
black one? The black one.
over
Was
here?
that thick
The
and dye
butterfly?
with
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah, that would be thick and dyed. Just brushed onto the fabric and let it soak for a few hours, rinse it, and you have a beautiful new piece of fabric.
Right. And so if you're thinking for us, for embroidery people, it's just you're taking these old pieces of fabric and just bringing them back to life. And instead of them just, I remember that one time we got 2 bags full at an estate sale. That was insane.
Yes. A
But it was going to be thrown
treasure.
away.
It's a
I
treasure.
know.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
It was going to be thrown away.
Now, Cheryl,
yeah.
when it goes, like you say, all right, my theme for this one is leaves. I want to tell a story about leaves and the role that they play. Did you have some of these things from other projects, or did you sit down and say, all right, now I have to create a bunch of leaf oriented pieces to make up this quilt?
I basically had to sit down and create everything for it. Now,
Okay.
I probably had a few pieces sitting around. Um, just because I do a lot of printing and the solar printing, you do it on the sunny days in the summer. So I do a lot of printing over the summer. So yeah, there'd be a lot in my stash. But if there's any stitching done on them, it probably wasn't done ahead of time. I mostly had to just sit down and stitch,
Yeah.
and I had a month to do it.
Yeah, that's the other part. Yeah. Now, talk about the construction. Are you putting all these pieces on some kind of a base cloth, or are
I'm
they're
I'm
obviously
glad you
hand sewn?
asked that. Yeah, that's another thing that I have been able to do a lot of recycling. A lot of the backs of these quilts, because technically to be a quilt, it has to be 3 layers, right? You have a
Yeah.
top, you have some kind of a batting or something inside, and then a backing, and then you attach them together for it to be a quilt. Um, I have a friend who he dealt antiques, and he had a lot of old quilts that he said, Cheryl, they're yours. And so I've used a lot of old quilts that were pretty ratty that I just washed them, cut them to size, and used them. So I was able to just attach directly to these old quilts.
Oh.
So yeah, another part of my recycling. And a couple of these quilts in this this exhibit were actually quilts. The backs were quilts that I had made previously and decided I just don't like this anymore. So I took whatever was on the front off of it and recycled something I had already done.
Okay. All right. So then, and then a batting, and then a new back.
Well, if it was an existing quilt that was already a nice quilt, I just used it as is and
Oh, okay.
just attached to it. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Haha. So literally no new material.
pretty much no new material.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
And folks, this
yeah.
one, just for reference, this one is 41 by 55 inches tall. So I mean, this is no small quilt. This is huge. Now, now, and sorry, I just have all these questions. When you put these together, and we'll just here's the one on the screen. Do you lay all these pieces out? Like, is it laying on a big table or on the floor, and you lay all the pieces out, and then over the course of 3 or 4 days, move things around? Or do you have a bunch of pieces and you lay them down because you have a vision in your head?
I've got a few different methods for working depending on what the quilt is, but for the most part, I I have a guest bedroom and I'll lay it out on that bed.
Okay.
And then I'll pin to either a base fabric or directly to whatever it's going to be sewn to. I'll pin it, and then I hang it. I've got a, a quilt, a way to hang quilts in my dining room, and I'll hang it on that rod, and I can look at it for a few days and figure out, this isn't right. This needs to move. Because when you look at something on a wall, it's different than when you're looking down at it.
Yeah.
You need that perspective. So yeah, it's kind of a combination. And and sometimes I'll actually work on a smaller portion, let's say maybe a piece that's 24 by 24, and collage those pieces together and then do another one about the same size and kind of work them all. So yeah, it's kind of a vision, but when you're working like collage like this, you can do that. And then if they don't really match up quite right, you just throw some other pieces in there.
Okay. So, all right. And I guess that was what I most curious about. It does have to cook in your head. You have to put it together and give it a little time to just see, um, make little adjustments till you get it just so you have it, so you want it.
I do. And I really, my ideas are pretty much in my head when I start. I may sketch some things out, but I'm not real good about that. I usually it's like I just jump in and start working. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it's a fail. And that's okay because you can cut it up and use it for something different.
Yeah.
So it's partially just enjoying the process then too.
Yeah.
Enjoy your journey, right?
Yep. Haha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. We're gonna, and I gotta keep us moving. That's my fault, but we gotta move on. So this one is, say, I can't even say it. How do we say this one?
This is Pachamama. So Pachamama was inspired by a trip that I took to Peru. And in Peru and other countries in South America, Pachamama is the word for Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is a very important figure to the people, and she should be a very important figure for us too, right? We need to take care of our earth. So this was inspired by that trip, and I also with this particular quilt, I dyed most of the fabrics that have that blush color to it. They are dyed with avocado pits or avocado peels. So I save all my pits and peels, and it does make very nice dye. Um, the little sweater that's kind of top left there, that was a wool sweater that came from actually um, a stash that I had of clothing that was given to me when my son was a baby. And it was old wool. And I mean, he never wore it, but somebody thought I needed it. And it took the dye beautifully. And it was very nice to work with that.
Hmm. And what do we have? The classic old doilies here.
Yes,
Yeah,
lots of doilies.
yeah,
Yeah,
So,
nobody knows what to do with them. Nobody wants to press them. They don't get used.
right.
So, yeah, I use them.
yeah,
And a lot of
and
the
that big,
flowers that are on that dress. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that big flower to the left, big that piece. Where did we get that? I know
Oh,
I
I
gave it
think
to you.
yeah, I think you pulled it out of the trash from the embroidery skill that nobody wanted it and it was going to
Yeah,
disappear. And it's beautiful, isn't it? Oh my
of
gosh.
course.
But
Literally, I think they were going to throw it away. It was like, yeah, no one wanted it. Everyone had gone through stuff, and I was like, okay, I know who needs this. Since no one's taking it, I'm taking it for Cheryl. She'll find a use for it. She'll
yeah,
dunk it in dye bath and tone it down, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just beautiful. And somebody worked very hard on that, but nobody else wanted it. So
Yep.
sad. But
But it's
that's
gotten
yeah,
new
that's
life on the
Pachamama.
quilt. Yeah.
Oh, it does. It does. And it's a very well, that piece is what gave me the color idea for this quilt then too.
Now,
And I
like this.
interrupted you. What were you going to do with, how did you make those flowers on the dress?
Okay, a lot of those were doilies that had flowers around the edge. I know I have been given some doilies that had pansies on them and some other flowers, and then pieces of lace that are floral. So I did a lot of dyeing. You can brush the dye on and control the color rather than just dunking it. And I think that dress was also an eco dye project. And boy, somewhere on that quilt, there's a llama too. I like to sneak in some
Oh,
little things, trinkets here and there sometimes.
there
But
he is,
You
right
see
there,
him?
isn't he?
oh, you found him? Did you find the llama?
Isn't that it right there?
It's like, where's Waldo?
Isn't that him?
But
Yeah.
yeah, they're on the top left. Yep.
Yep. Now, when you dye these, you don't are all natural dyes, no chemical dyes out of bottles.
No, there I am working towards using all natural dyes, but those bright, brilliant colors of those flowers on that dress, those would be Procyon dyes. I use
Okay.
Procyon MX dyes. They've been around since the 70s. They're a very good dye, and um, I would love to work towards just using natural dyes, but one thing I have to say about this quilt then too, if it's in the sunlight in time, it's going to lose that color. That blush color will probably fade quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
because they're natural. They don't last forever,
Yeah.
but yeah, maybe it'll last longer than me, and then I'll be happy.
All right. The next one is Flora.
Okay. So Beth, what do you have to say about this one?
Recognize the green dress.
Yeah. Was that from your
So,
aunt or?
yes, one of my aunt gave me this bag of stuff and I had it and I was like, I am never going to do anything with this dress. And Cheryl had started the green, all her dress series. And I thought, I know who needs this dress. So I gave it to
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
So
So
she
it
turned
was
it into a
actually a little
vase.
bit lighter. Yeah. It was a little bit lighter in color. So I did dye that because I wanted it to be a little more brilliant. And then, yeah, turned it upside down and made a vase out of it.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I knew Rachel didn't want it. It was just sitting in a box. And I was like, okay, this is hoarding at this. I mean, it's just time to let it go. And
Mhm.
I knew, Cheryl would either use it as it was or cut it up or something, but it was just nice to
Yeah.
move it to use, and to see it used is great. It just makes me feel good.
Good. And I look at it and I think about you and how nice it was that you gifted it. So this particular quilt, the idea behind this one was that, the oceans are rising and there are places that are really going to be affected by that a lot. And my thought was the Netherlands, especially. I mean, that's already an area that's always had water problems, right? A lot of reclaimed land there. But my thought was, what happens when the water starts to rise so much that the tulip fields are affected by it? And it's not only that they're not going to have the tulip bulbs because they produce such a large number of them for the world, but that's going to affect their economy. It's going to affect so many things and other places that are being affected by climate change. And, flowers for me was the nice way to get that across because um, I'd hate to have a spring without tulips. A lot of doilies on this one, a lot of things that I dyed and then stitched, and just tried to keep it with, bright, cheery, happy colors.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was just noticing is how many doilies you have in here, all over the place.
Yeah.
And these are so fun because the more you look at them, the more you see.
Hmm.
What
I
are
like the
you?
sunbonnet Sue you put on too.
Yeah. Yeah. That little like flower pot is actually a little bonnet from a child and kind of turned on its side. And I think I left the ribbons on it too, just to, you know, it needed to be there. Oh, and it's on top of a little doily piece or pot holder that I think, Beth, you gave me that too. There's a lot of you in this quilt, girl.
My, oh my. I find the treasures and I pass them on. I'm like, and I just, in fact, I have a bag of doilies sitting in the room here that I've got to get to Cheryl at some point. The just little ones, so they're just the perfect. I know she'll find a use for them.
I think this is my favorite piece right here. I don't know
It's
why.
Sunbonnet Sue.
You know, yeah. All right, so that's Flora. Now this next one is Loss.
Okay, so there's kind of a funny story behind that. You can see the elephants on it, but when I originally had this kind of dreamed up in my head, I was kind of thinking about using a giraffe theme because I knew I had a piece of giraffe fabric that I had purchased that was probably printed in Africa or someplace many years ago. And it was in my stash, and I looked and looked and looked for that and could not find it. And I finally one day I came across a box, another box, and I opened it up and oh my gosh, the fabric was not giraffes, it was elephants. So I had to change my whole theme basically. But the idea on this one is that the elephants have, yes, lost a lot of their habitat, um, and it's the population problem. The loss of the elephants is just enormous. So the dress that's on here, if you can kind of zoom in on that dress there, when I started working on that, I kind of thought about a map and how the elephants, they know their way to get to water or where the feeding areas are during different seasons. But I wanted to create a map for them. And as I did this, there's places where the water holes are all dried up. And so the stitching is their little footprints as they are traveling and looking for water. And it, it hurts that it's not just the elephants, but other animals too that have lost their habitat and many different reasons, but basically man is to blame for it ultimately. Oh, this is a sad story. Oh my
Well,
gosh. But it is, and it was something that I wanted to draw attention to.
love this
So I
butterfly
had
here.
my elephant fabric. Yeah, that's made with a doily that's cut up and pieced together.
Yeah, and I
So
love the eco
through
print next to it. The
yeah.
um, the one to
This
the
here?
left, the other side. That down, that down,
Oh, this one here.
that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an eco
So
print
I'm
or something.
this is kind of a good picture right now looking at this. I decided I needed to include some personal imagery on this too. Some symbols. I enjoy working with symbols. And so each one of the quilts does have a butterfly on it somehow. And the butterfly for me kind of represents freedom and travel, because that's another thing that I really enjoy doing. But then also, each quilt has at least one cross on it somehow, because I wanted to also share my Christian belief and just in subtle ways. And so, as you look there, you can see them both, the butterfly and a cross. But those are the secret little things that people don't know unless they listen to me tell them, right?
Right.
Right.
No, it's
I think that's what
interesting
we.
to me. It's interesting to me that, for instance, on this cross and a circle, the stitching, it's just enough to tack it down. Is that part of the art, or is it just you want all of these to kind of have that look?
Um,
I'm not even sure that's a
I
good
I
question.
guess
I
it's
don't know. It's just interesting.
yeah. I think it's part of my style.
Okay.
I do have some pieces that are like super heavily stitched. Well, that the dress itself, that the map on that is pretty heavily stitched and little beads and I spent a lot of time on that. But yeah, there's certain places where I do a lot more stitching and I do very simple stitches. I don't do anything very complicated. You can get a lot of miles out of a running stitch, right?
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Well, it's just interesting. It's such at the opposite end of the spectrum of formal quilts, where all the stitching is straight and the points all match up and all that. I mean, it's so different from that, and in a lot of ways, I think more enjoyable. Um, has more life to it.
Well, there's a lot to look at, and you can look at it again and again and see different things. And I enjoy that.
How do you know when you're done?
I like.
Okay.
When I've run out of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a point with
No, because
is there a point with this quilt where you just say, all right, that's the way I want it, or are you always feeling like
I
one more
think
piece, one less
so.
piece?
No, I think like this one, when I pulled it together, I think I was ready. I felt like it was ready. I have a few others that I've worked on that I wish I would have done a little bit more, and I could always do that. But um, yeah, I think my little voice said it was ready. It was
Yeah.
ready to be hung up.
Hmm. Do we get family input when these things are hung up in process?
Um, Not too much. Not too much.
No.
Um, I, I, I think it's more of girlfriends, that that family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get together at the library sometimes, and she'll have one, and we'll all stand around and look, or she'll be at, I think, your sewing group too, right? The
Yeah,
Saturday
yeah,
sewing group,
yeah.
and we'll talk about it.
Oh, okay. So there is some input. All right. All right.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Tears. What? Tears for our Earth.
Yes. So I felt like I needed to do something that was dark and dreary and kind of the after man has left the planet, what's left. If we don't turn things around, what are we going to have? So I really wanted to do some kind of a city, and but I still wanted the sun to be there, but the sun is pretty blocked. You don't see a lot of this the bright color of a sun that you would ordinarily see. But this quilt, the background on this one, it actually was a quilt top that I made ages and ages and ages ago. It had to have been in the 80s that I pieced it. So the back when I did things like that. And it was kind of a bright pink color and a green back in the 80s when pink and green was the thing. And I really didn't know what to do with it. I had never finished it as a quilt. It was, in a stash that maybe covered stuff when we moved or wrapped it and put it in the car. It was just, it was never finished. And so then I thought, well, what if I dye the whole thing black? What will happen? Well, it's old enough fabric that the green part actually didn't take the dye very well because it probably has polyester in it.
Hmm.
But I was able to use that then. I did a lot of machine stitching on this one, pulling this one together. And the clothing that's used in this particular one, they're kind of on the left on the bottom. There's a building that has stripes on it. That was a little romper that was my son's. It was something I had made for him when he was young. So yeah, each quilt has some clothing on it, but uh, it's not always a dress. Yeah.
Now,
So this quilt makes me sad.
well, I was just going to ask. I mean, do some of these just come out of a mood? Like, I'm just, these few days, you just, give a few days come and you're just kind of depressed or glum about things,
Yeah.
and a quilt comes out of that.
Well, you do enough research before you start one of these that all the reading that I've done and research and at some point our planet is going to run out of fresh water, and that terrifies me. Now, fortunately for me, I'm old enough that that date that they say we're going to run out of fresh water, I will be gone. But but what about our children and our grandchildren?
Right.
It's like it makes me feel terrible that we're handing over a planet that, I don't know, at times you start feeling helpless. And so, yeah, this quilt was that feeling like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and to that, the New York Times podcast, The Daily, today or yesterday, that whole issue of running out of water is here. Talking about the desertification in the Middle East, and it is an eye-opening podcast. And when this quilt, I this was in play here, and I listened to that podcast, and I go, whoa, this is too much coming together. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, all right, moving on. Brighter things.
Yeah. Okay. So, this quilt was actually inspired by a trip to Morocco. So, this is another quilt that approaches water and the lack thereof. Morocco is is such a large part of it is desert, and um, at some point down the road, that Sahara Desert will no longer be a desert; it'll be a lush green oasis again in about 10,000 years is what I read. So we
Yeah.
don't have time to wait for that. But this particular quilt, yes, I had been in Morocco and I was inspired by the colors that I saw and the beautiful dresses that the women wore and the architecture. So I wanted to create something that kind of reminded me of um, the windows in some of the buildings and um, but this quilt, the dress was given to me. It was all white when it was given to me, and it was somebody's friend's first communion dress. And I dyed it and cut it apart a little bit and worked adding some lace to it and recreating the dress. And then the background of this quilt is actually some old curtains that I had, some
Yeah.
drapes that, so I was able to use that. And, um, there's a lot of recycled things on here that have personal meaning to me. And how wonderful that a friend would give me her first communion dress and say, do with it as you please.
Oh, so that's the first communion. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be all white. Yeah.
I love these the windows so much there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it does scream, that area, Morocco, with the idea of those tiles. Um, with the way you did the squares, I just love it. It does speak to that area. I love it.
Well, you
One
get
day I'll
so
get
much
there.
out of doilies. Wow.
That's why we're always on the lookout for them.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
she just makes them she
Because no
makes
one
them
makes
work in
them.
so many ways. It's so cool.
Hmm. 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 Yeah, I just love this one with uh, the dress with the arch and kind of it looks like a window looking out. Um, yeah, I just love it.
Is that black lace on the arch? Looks like it. No.
It is.
Yes.
It was a purchase. I actually bought that.
Oh no.
but but it but it was needed. I needed something. And I it wasn't expensive, but I needed something that really helped tie it together and it needed that black on this particular quilt.
Yeah. Wow. So cool. All right. This one is netted.
Okay, so this is actually a statement about overfishing. Now, overfishing, I remember as a young girl, my dad would and his buddies and they would go fishing and they would catch so many fish. And that was back in the 60s and that was you did that. There wasn't a limit. You caught, you brought them home, you froze them, we ate fish all the time. Well, nowadays, we don't really fish that way because there are limits, but the concept of overfishing is a problem in the Pacific Ocean, especially. And we won't go into all of that because I'd rather talk about the quilt. But um, as I started working on this, I actually used some things that were my father's. My dad died about 9 years ago, and a lot of his things, his fishing things, were still in his man cave. And so there's nets on there that were actually some antique nets because he collected some antique items. So I used those. I used his vest that he used to wear when he'd go fishing because he had so many pockets on it, so he could put all his little flies and things in those pockets. And, so it made me feel good to use some of his things. There's flies that he tied that are on that. And the piece there on the top there that is, it's kind of cross stitch. That is the only kind of cross stitch piece I ever did in my life. And I did it in like 1980 or something. And after he died, my mom said, "Oh, because I did it and I gave it to him." And she's like, "You need to have this." And I thought, well, what in the world am I ever going to do with that? Well, lo and behold, you put it on a quilt, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Um,
And talk
the other
about
thing
the
that's
ceramic fish. The ceramic fish.
Yes, yes. So as I was working on this, I thought, you know what? I need some fish to put on it to help pull off the concept that it is fish. It's a fish quilt. And, I started looking and I saw wooden ones and this and that. I just wasn't happy with the colors. And then it occurred to me that a friend's daughter does ceramic work. And so I contacted her, and she made the fish for this. And she lives in Springfield, and some of those fish were actually fired down in St. Louis because she took them down there so that she could get them done. So they're very well traveled fish. Uh,
Oh, they're all
They are
over here.
so
it
Oh,
cool in
really,
person too. They are
yeah,
neat. And they just
yeah,
add to this
yeah,
quilt. I can't wait to see this one
yeah.
in person.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many there
It's a
were.
it's very busy. Yeah. I think she made about a dozen of them. I couldn't really put them all on there, but they'll show up somewhere else, won't they?
Hmm.
Oh, I'm starting to get it. So we have here basically water here, and this is shore here with leaves and. Is that right?
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah,
me.
there you go.
Look at me catching on to the game here. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I love all the sequins you put on here too. Um, are those from like those records that are the you know what I'm saying, the
The
ones.
vinyl, yeah, the vinyl
Yes.
records. I buy those sequins. They're what, about a half inch across. They
Hmm.
come from Africa. They're made in Africa from old record albums,
hmm.
and they're all different weird colors, which is, I think I, as a child, had a couple of records, some 45s that maybe were yellow, but I never saw red ones and blue ones and green ones, and like, they're so cool. And
Yeah,
those
so
come
they're
from
not
I buy
shiny.
those in a shop. No, they're not shiny, and
You buy them where? I'm sorry. Where do you
it,
buy them, Cheryl?
I get those at Beadology in Iowa City. It's a fabulous bead store.
Robin,
Yeah.
Kendra, road trip.
All right.
Oh, you guys live there. Never mind. Uh,
The next one's
uh,
frayed.
Frayed. Okay, so this quilt, there's actually two dresses on this one. There's the blue one there kind of at the top, and then the white
Right there.
one. So this quilt, I started with the idea of wanting to do something about cobalt. And cobalt is mined. It's kind of strip mined in Africa, in the Congo. That's the biggest place for it. And I read this book. Um, and right now, of course, the title of the book just escaped me. I think it's Cobalt Red. And it is about basically the slavery that's involved in mining cobalt. And it it's horrible. The idea that little children who could be wearing these dresses, are out digging for cobalt in the dirt, and there's radiation, and there's the uranium deposits are there too. And it's just, I don't know, it's just horrible. And they work for pennies basically. And it's like, who's who's making all the money on this? That's how slavery is though. So anyway, I wanted to use blue, and which represents the cobalt. And um I just lost my train of thought. Okay. So cobalt is, as far as you and I are concerned, a necessary part of our life. We want our cell phones. Um, I have a car that is partially electric. I have to have cobalt. It's like it, something's got to change. The idea of using an electric car to save gas and the environment is one thing, but then when you realize that that cobalt's being strip mined and these poor children are forced into slavery, and it's not just children, it's women and men also. But so anyway, this particular quilt, yes, it angers me what has happened in Africa. um this quilt also, I did not put a batting on this one. It's just a front and a back because I thought, in Africa, you wouldn't need that. You wouldn't need that extra layer to keep warm in the areas where the people are digging this. It's close to the equator. It's warm there. So technically, is it a quilt? Well, maybe not. But there is such thing as a summer quilt that doesn't have a batting. So I guess it actually is. But I did a lot of cyanotype printing for this to get those the flowers and the little dress. There's a lot of beading on that, a lot of stitching. The white dress, I didn't really do very much to it. I just thought balance wise, it just needed that one.
It looks like you have some stenciling too with thickened dyes, because I don't think did you get the cyanotype to work with some of those stencils?
Um, it was, yeah, probably thickened eyes. And yeah, I probably used some solar fast and did some printing with that too.
Mm-hmm. We
Hmm.
were discussing
Yeah.
cyanotypes and solar fast the other day on a Zoom call, and how fun it is to see what you can get. It's like it's kind of magic. It's kind of an experiment. I mean, you can get better at it, I think, the more you do, but um, there's something about it. It just has a look all of its own that, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful color.
Well, as depressing as the topic is, I really like it.
I know. Isn't that hard? And I didn't want all of these to be like ugly quilts. I wanted them to be pretty. I wanted to express myself with beautiful pieces. But yeah, the backstory on them can be kind of depressing.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. All right, last one, excess.
Okay, so this quilt, what inspired me on this one is how much money is spent for holidays and how much plastic is purchased and put in yards and on trees, and that, and it's not just Christmas, it's Easter, so much holiday excess. And kind of bothers me, obviously. But so this particular quilt, though, that the coat that's on there was a little pink coat that my mother made for me when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So it was kind of a fuchsia, hot pink thing. And all these years she kept that and then she gave it to me. And I thought, I think I'm going to dye it red. and I dyed it and it was blotchy, and I dyed it again, it was blotchy. And I thought, okay, it just needs to be blotchy. There's something about that actually it gives it some depth. It's okay. But what a cute little coat it was. I think it was probably made for an early Easter. Easter in Illinois can be kind of cold sometimes. And but it was pink, and I had a doll that had she made the same coat for the little doll, which was
Yeah.
so cute. Uh, so so there was her tailoring project. There's a lot of other pieces on here, some fabrics that I picked up someplace that are kind of Christmassy looking. Um, I did use some plastic snowflakes on it that have gold on them because I felt like, you know what? It needed it. It needed to have some of that statement on it that we do spend a lot. And sometimes in some places they purchase and then get rid of it at the end of the season. Like, oh my gosh, can we not recycle? When I was a little girl back in the day, we made paper chains and put those on the tree. So,
Right.
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Or you change the tree every year. I'm like, oh, isn't that getting expensive? Is my thought. But just the whole idea that
yeah,
you're not reusing something. You're just taking it off and getting new, and I don't know.
yeah. So, excess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's really
Yeah,
striking quilt though. Um,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
yeah. Ah,
Yeah. I love
all
the
right.
red and white
And I know,
of the fabric. But you know me, I love red.
Really?
yeah, yeah.
It almost looks Swedish. The
It's some of the fabrics that are on there, I think I got those in Denmark. So,
yeah.
yeah, it has a Scandinavian look to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that checkerboard red and white that kind of sticks out. That was a little pot holder that somebody gave me. And it's like, oh, that's perfect for this.
See, there's
Excellent.
a
Yeah, a
reason
lot
we
of
have stash.
that's right. That's right. Uh, so that's my quilts.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
that's
I know
fun.
earlier you said to me, how can you part with these? How could you sell them? And I think, oh, yeah, that red one, how could I? I mean, that's a coat that was mine. How do you get rid of it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I struggle with a lot of artists. I don't struggle with it because it's not my stuff, but they'll sell it, and for some artists, it's just I made the art, I'm done with it. It can move on to somewhere else, and I would just find it really difficult. But like you said, you can't keep everything, so um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Just seems a shame to let those go out the door. But if they're going out the door to somebody who really appreciates them, then I guess um, that's a plus too. So
Yeah. So with the 12 that I did that are smaller, I had this thought that it really would be nice to keep them all together and keep it as an exhibit together. And I
mm-hmm.
I have this dream of finding either a corporation or a hospital wing or some place where they can all be hung together and kept together. But I don't know where that is, and I haven't pursued finding somebody that would take them.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, I was trying to.
maybe somebody tonight will go, I know where they can go.
Yeah, yeah. You never know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
I was trying to find the address for people who might want to see, and I am now struggling to find that. So, oh, here it is.
Did I find it?
Yep, got it. So, Yeah, that's where you can see everything in the exhibition and purchase if you want. And yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right, you did this whole series of quilts under the gun to get them done for this exhibition. Does that process spur another? Do you go down another path with some other form of art, or does it spur another set of quilts, or what comes next for you, or do you just stop and let something just happen to you?
I have started something else. I
Okay.
was going to take some time off because I'm actually home for 4 months, no travel, and just going to be here. But a few months ago, a woman gave me a very huge stash of wool. Some of it is still needs to be washed. Some of it's been washed. Some of it's dyed. But I think it was at least 9 or 10 fleeces that she gave me.
Wow.
So I've started dyeing some of that and started working on felting some of it and stitching on that. And I'm very excited about the direction I'm going with that. The other thing that I'm adding is that about 2 years ago, my niece and I had gone on a trip together, and we were in Iceland walking on one of the lava fields, and I came across a small shard that was from a broken plate. And of course, I had to pick it up and take it home. I am a magpie that way. And then I got to thinking, I can make my own shards. So I started breaking plates, and yeah, people give me things to break and smash, and I throw it in my rock tumbler, and I'm coming up with some beautiful little shards now that I'm working with the wool.
Oh,
So I have I'm in the beginning stages of it, but I'm happy with what I'm doing so far.
Yeah, so I show let me see if I can find it on my phone. Let's see. 'Cause on you just showed some of your wool pieces, and I was like, "Oh, I need one of those little wool." Here, let's see if I don't know if you can see it on my phone. See?
oh
That's what
my,
she's doing with the wool.
oh my.
Oh, the
Yes,
balls. Yes.
the
Wow.
balls.
Yeah.
I need wool eggs. Maybe we can make eggs together.
We could do that.
We got to get an art date
Yeah.
going. So, isn't
Okay.
that cool? So she's doing the wool, making them into balls, and then we could stitch on them, Gary.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
curved needle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Why not?
Yeah.
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 I thought it was so wild that Jan mentioned that she actually stitched uh, that fish piece.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Somebody else did that.
So small world there, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you do with it, Jan? Did you give it to a fisherman or?
Is it hanging at your house?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And Sandy, I don't know. Cheryl, do you have on the back, do you have labels of the stories, or are they just placards next to it for the art quilt?
Just
Does it have something on the
placard. No, on the back, all I have is the title and my name and the date. But yeah, hanging at the show, there is a story about each one.
Yeah.
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 And is that I did not go to the URL there at the bottom of the screen, but I assume the descriptions are there too.
They should be.
Yeah. Okay.
There's they're supposed to be.
Okay. All
I
right.
guess I should check on that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't check. But yeah, because that's important. I mean, because she's written a paragraph for each one, so that
Hmm.
there is copy that describes each one. Sandy, it does exist. So, but go to that URL and see if it's there. But yeah, you're right. And each of them, each of the descriptions she gives really does highlight what the piece is all about. So yeah. All right,
They're
Cheryl, thanks
nice.
so
Beautiful
much.
job.
Yeah, Cheryl, that was
Thank
just
you.
and congratulations too. I mean, on the series and
Thank
the
you.
exhibition and everything. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So if
Yes.
people are interested now, road trip, Quad City Arts Gallery, Rock Island, Illinois, and this is going to be available May 9 to June 20 is this exhibition, and the opening reception is May 9 from 6 to 8. So Rock Island, Illinois, you can make a little road trip and see that and the other two artists, what they have exhibiting too, at the Quad City Arts Gallery. So check that out if you're within shouting distance. And if not, then you can go to the quadcityarts.com/rock-island-gallery and see the pieces there and maybe be inspired enough to purchase one, you know? Yep.
Yes.
All right. Sunday is Jessica Kemper of Field Guide Embroidery. Be sure and catch that. And next Wednesday, we're back with another podcast. So thanks to everybody for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Thank you, Cheryl.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.